everyone, I'm Jennifer Blevin-Smith with Integral Clinic Solutions, and you're watching my YouTube channel, Navigating the Business of Medicine. Today I want to discuss the importance of staff training and establishing expectations early on in their employment. Now, if you are opening your own practice, chances are things are going to get super crazy the closer you get to opening your doors. There's so many things that need to be fixed and I's to be dotted, T's to be crossed, that you really have to learn to prioritize what's important that needs to be done before you open and what can be done after. Now, of course, you're going to basically set up your office the way you think it's going to be with your supplies and equipment and furniture, but chances are you might have to adjust some of that as you see patients and think about workflows and such like that. One thing that might help you with getting things set up appropriately the first time is training your staff the week before you open and also establishing some basic workflows. This means going from a patient experience of calling in and your front desk staff answering the phone, scheduling, obtaining their demographic and insurance information, entering it into the EHR, to the patient arriving, checking them in, processing all the paperwork and co-pays if needed, and then having the back office do what they need to do. From grabbing the patient, rooming them, taking their vitals, chief complaint, entering all their documentation for medical history, and then the provider, doctor, mid-level, whoever it is, seeing the patient, opening the parts of the chart that they would be using, navigating through that, getting comfortable, creating templates if needed, and then checking out the patient and establishing if you want patients to check out at the front desk, if it's okay for them to leave after your medical assistants or nurses provide them with aftercare summaries or whatever you want it to be. This will help avoid a lot of issues once you open the doors and try to navigate through a live environment. Now, mock environments and demo environments, of course, have their downfalls because you never know what could be thrown at you in the live environment. But at least you could get the basics down and the foundations and help your staff feel comfortable and let you feel comfortable that your staff is going to do what you expect for your patient care. Now, with this being said, I know it's hard to find time to do the trainings with everything else that needs to be done. I have done this many times, and I can't tell you what a big difference it makes between the private practices that do the trainings and the workflows and expectations before seeing patients, and then the ones that do it after opening their doors and starting to see patients. You have to remember, most likely you're going to be using a new EHR system, and that's going to throw a bunch of wrenches at you, and you're going to get a lot of people frustrated, and you're going to try to find help for them to figure out how to do what they need to do in the system. And that doesn't include the things coming at you from patient requests or employees trying to figure out other workflows when it comes to procedures or whatever kind of treatments you offer to your patients in your specialty. Communication to your staff is huge, and staff will feel more secure and more likely to give input if they are involved in some of the workflow requests. Now, what I'm saying is you need to put together a basic structure or basic outline of how you would like patient flow to go and what kind of information you want your staff to be collecting, but leaving it up to the staff to try to work out what will work best for them in the process. Having that participation is huge, but there is a fine line of establishing what you want done and then giving them the room of where there's ways for them to adapt and have input. Giving them a free-for-all and just telling them to figure it out amongst themselves, I do not suggest, because that can cause a lot of issues, and you have a lot of different personalities and people who haven't worked together before, and it could just end up resulting in really bad taste for your employees, and also it could backfire, and instead of improving patient care, it could make patient care be worse. So doing these mock patient check-ins to check out is highly encouraged. Now, during the trainings, of course, you're also going to have to include your HIPAA training, your fraud, waste, and abuse if you take Medicare, and also your OSHA training. But during that time, I would also have your employee handbook available and go through it page by page with your staff all together, because that will set your policies and procedures for your staff And it will put those expectations out there. Dress code, arrival times, expectations of taking lunch breaks and other breaks, anything like that, PTO or paid time off, any kind of holidays, schedule expectations. It will go over everything, and then it's all out on the table. Everybody heard it together, and people can ask questions together and hear the answers all as one. Trying to send things out in email is very difficult when it's new information. You don't know who's reading it, who's understanding it. If they ask questions, not everybody may hear the answer, and you're just not taken as seriously, in my opinion. Doing it as a group is very important. And then when you bring on new hires, of course, you have the handbook and the trainings, and then they will sit with your staff who have a very good understanding of what's expected in your workflows, and they'll learn from them. But your initial kickoff, opening the doors, starting to see patients, the staff you've hired for that are going to be the ones you want to put the most time and effort into personally, so that you can make sure they're doing everything the way you want them to, so that as new hires come on, they are learning the right way. Now, when I talk about sending emails isn't always the best way, it's with new information and sending too much at once. So what I've experienced, if you don't do the trainings and expectations before you open doors, with all the different schedules of your staff and people not working together and not being able to have those conversations as one big team, you forget who you've told what to, and you don't think people probably take it as seriously, in my experience. But also, the new information might be forgotten. A lot of people need to hear things to remember. And everybody learns differently, of course. But assuming everybody is going to take away the same information in just an email instead of an interactive process is kind of ignorant, in my opinion. I believe that if something comes up and you write a memo and you ask people to acknowledge it and send it back to you, that is one thing. Or documenting as a follow-up about a conversation or a lesson or a training or something like that in an email is super important. It's always good to put things in writing and make sure that people are acknowledging it, because then you have a way of showing that if there was an issue with disciplinary action or patient care, that it was discussed and there should be an understanding or at least an acknowledgement that they saw it. So be careful with your electronic communication. It is very appropriate in many ways, but I feel to set the ground foundations of workflows, expectations, trainings, it should be done as a group, and it should be done so it can be interactive and everything put out there before you start seeing patients. This also helps give your staff confidence in you as the doctor and owner, and what kind of patient care that they will be providing, and also that they feel like they are being compliant or that they're being heard. I mean, there's so many different aspects to this, so I really encourage you to make sure you prioritize and that you put forth in your mind that you need to spend the time with your new hired staff before you open the doors to do trainings, workflows, and also expectations. If you have some suggestions on things that you've done in your own practice for your staff on trainings, workflows, and anything like that, please put it in the comments below. Let's help one another. And obviously, depending on your specialty and all of that, some things are going to be more complex than others and take more time, but having a good foundation to work off of when you open your doors is at least something to think about. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope you took away something that was helpful. Hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't. The bell icon is where you will get notifications when I release new videos. Take care of yourself and have a wonderful day.